Welcome to the Primo's Musings podcast.
Good morning. How are you doing, Satish?
Good morning, Sridhar. Doing well?
All right. Yesterday Sunday was the last Sunday where no football took or no football happened yesterday, but it's going to be football season for the next 18 weeks and beyond for the playoffs. So we're going to live in football extravaganza. So the games are starting. I'm sure you're excited. Give me a little bit of your excitement level for this season, this year.
So off season has been probably in several years I haven't watched as closely off season moves as I did this season. Maybe it's because my team Denver has gone through so much in the off season, but I think the same can be said with your team Pats too. So it's
True.
just, with all the action, it kind of brings back some excitement, things to kind of look forward to. Some things probably will remain the same, but all in all, gearing up for the season and very much looking forward to having some fun with the games.
True. And I think, starting about that, I did cover the AFC West preview. I did talk about Denver. I wanted to get your before we get into the actual pickings of the three games each that we're going to pick against the spread that we did last year. We started that last year. I wanted to hear your thoughts on what you thought about Denver's selection of Bo Nix and where and they've clearly moved on from Russell Wilson, who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Thank you, Steelers. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on the pick and also a general thing on what you thought about what Denver should do this year. And I'm sure there's going to be a learning year for Bo Nix and Sean Payton.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, right? They had to move on. It took a little bit longer, in my view, for Sean to kind of wise up to it, but he's a savvy coach, and I think he made a lot of moves. The I'll start off with kind of a downer, which is, they were saddled with a lot of money in contracts for Russell. And so even though they got Russell off their backs, they're saddled with so much in their salary cap that they don't have room for. And so they've been very smart in terms of, if you look at the moves they made. So let me just start with Bo, right? So they had to pick a quarterback. That much was obvious. They actually ended up picking someone who is probably better known for his not making mistakes and being a poised quarterback in the backfield than someone who's like a gunslinger. And I think that already starts to show how Sean wants to think about his offense. They had a packed backfield, right? They had veterans in the backfield that they had to basically move on from. They promoted Javante and Jaleel. That's a very strong backfield. They gave up on veterans like Tim Patrick, right? They released him.
Mhm.
But then they've got Cortland Sutton, they've got Marvin Mims, who's, I think, coming on his second or third year. And so, from an offense standpoint, Sean has really done whatever he could, given how little salary cap he had to work with. So, on the offensive side, I kind of like everything that he has done. The problem is they left themselves no room to do anything defensively, which is what I would worry the most about. So it's kind of a mixed bag for me for Denver. It's a building year, so don't hold out too much hope. But that's kind of how I felt about Denver's move. They did the best they could given what they had.
Yeah. Though I think, both our teams are going to be interesting. And I don't know if Drake May is going to start for the Patriots. I think they've already named Jacoby Brissett. I don't know what the leash is on for him. I agree with, I think even Tom Brady had said that, putting the rookies early in the rookie year is not a good thing. And, he talks about himself. He talks about even Patrick Mahomes, who took a while. I mean, Peyton Manning is special talent, and I think he went through growing pains. So he was 3-13, and for those who don't know that, the Hall of Famer was 3-13 his first year. But he did turn out to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, unlike all the other rookie quarterbacks who get put
Well,
in the
you forgot my man, Bo is only the second Bronco to start as a rookie. The first one was,
John Elway.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Okay. Okay, that's true too. All right, so I stand corrected. In fact, he's John Elway has actually been to more Super Bowls than Peyton Manning, so 5. So you're right. That's a good one. That's a good call. But we get down. The NFL season starts with the Super Bowl and your division rival Kansas City taking on the Baltimore Ravens, which their season ended in a dud, despite having the number one seed last year. Kansas City went into Ravens and beat them on their way to their third Super Bowl. So I think the pick right now, and you decided to take the Ravens and Chiefs. The pick is the I think Kansas City is favored by 3. How do you think this game is going in your mind? And then we'll get to mine, which is Green Bay and Eagles after, which is the next day, I think.
Okay, so right, they pick up right where they left off last season, and at the championship game, I think Baltimore actually has a lot to be thankful for. Lamar Jackson behind the snapper, Derrick Henry as a running back, a lot of experience, grit, and options to run that offensive backfield. So you just imagine how Lamar can scramble, and then you got Derek who can power through. Combine that with the tight end, Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers at the slot, and you have a very potent offense that's intact. I think they can put up a lot of points and manage the clock very well, right? So they have a lot of things going for them. Chiefs have to be the favorites entering the season, right? I mean, you talked about it in your AFC West podcast. I can't really argue with all the elements that are blowing in their favor. Mahomes with Rashee Rice, Travis Kelsey, Justin Watson, they're all intact, right? Chiefs defense is the only thing I've heard. They haven't been healthy coming off from the camp and the preseason. But then, Steve Spagnuolo, if anyone, right? Spagnuolo, if anyone can like rally that group and produce, it's probably him. So I think they'll do it. They might take a little bit long. I think the offensive unit for the Chiefs will be the shining stars for this season. They'll be the ones that kind of make it for them. Great matchup, and so coming to kind of how I would pick this game, Chiefs don't always open a season as well as they finish the season, but then they are at home. So I'm thinking they should be able to pull out a win. I'm thinking it will be a close one. I think the pick of whatever the line is of 3 is probably the right one. I can see not a very high scoring, probably mistake free, very careful, disciplined execution by both teams. And probably Casey making like a late in the game defensive stance and stop and pull off like a 24-21.
Okay, so I think the spread was 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so the okay. Um, I think even last year the Chiefs started against Lions. The Lions actually won that game on the road, and I was actually hoping for the Lions. I mean, the Lions could have actually gone to the Super Bowl last year if they had held on against 49ers. I see your pick there. Um, I think the addition of Derrick Henry is a good, potent one, but unless somebody can take out Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, I'm still not willing to. I think I like your pick there. Let me go down to mine, which is the Green Bay and the Eagles. This actually happens to be in Brazil. This is the first NFL game to be played in
Yeah.
Brazil. I already did the Eagles preview with some of my friends from the NFC East, and he feels that the Eagles will be winning the division. I think it's a flip between them and the Cowboys, but I definitely think the Eagles are still. I think this is a big year for the Eagles with Nick Sirianni and the Eagles. They started 10-1 last year, didn't do that well. They lost. I think they were 1-6 in the last 7 games, and they went and lost to Tampa Bay in the playoffs. So it doesn't bode well for Eagles, and especially they've already had some key especially with their offensive line. Jason Kelsey retired, so let's see how Hurts can rebound from that. The Green Bay, on the other hand, I actually feel that they are. I see them on the ascending right now in that division because I think I'm a believer in Jordan Love. I didn't believe much in him, but the way they went into Dallas and really not just took care of business, they poured 48 points on Dallas defense. So this is a very interesting matchup. The Eagles should not be looking at the division and thinking about locking up the division. They should be looking at this game because this is a very big trap game for them. And this is the youngest team. Matt LaFleur knows how to coach. Jordan Love knows the offense now. Young team. They're hungry. And while the Eagles have a lot of questions going to them, I think the betting right now, if I'm looking at it, I think it's a 3 or 3.5, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so I'm actually calling. I think Eagles are favored, but I'm actually calling for Green Bay to beat the Eagles 28-24. So that's the upset, and I wouldn't be shocked.
I agree with you. I'm also a big Jordan Love fan. It's a young team. It's kind of an exciting team to watch. So I hope they go out and I mean we'll see. They have a good shot. It's early in the season. They don't. The stakes are not quite like the pressure you would feel towards late in the season. Green Bay. I can see them pulling off a win.
Yep, that's true. So let's go to your second game. Uh, I think I'll reserve your team for the last. So maybe you can pick my team with the Bengals and the Patriots. I saw two lines. One was 8.5, one was 9.5. We'll go with 8.5. And one interesting, um, not a point I wanted to bring, Dan Hurley, who's the head coach of the Yukon Huskies,
Yeah.
will be there in Cincinnati. He's a Bengals fan. He will be in Cincinnati as to be on day one of the NFL season. So very interesting. I have like mixed feelings about it, about him going and rooting for. But
Loyalties.
that's the team he grew up with. So,
Yeah.
um, so your thoughts on that matchup with Cincinnati? Because Cincinnati has questions. Joe Burrow coming off injuries. They have a good potent offense. They have a good potent offense, but very poor offensive line. Okay, defense. Patriots, a lot of questions on offense. So, floor is yours.
Yeah. No, you kind of hit a lot of important factors of that game. I'll just start off by saying I think 9.5, whatever the line is giving Cincinnati too much credit. I don't think they deserve that much for some of the reasons that you've already talked about. But let me just give you my observations on sort of Pats and what I've seen them kind of like Denver, trying to build their team in the off season. So I was a little bit not I get your point about not starting a rookie, but veteran Jacoby Brissett starting, it's like a meh. But with somebody like the way Drake May did in the preseason, I was like, come on, give him a shot. But anyway, Gerard Mayo at the helm, I'm sure he's thinking very hard about all of this. Questions really for New England from an offensive standpoint, I think, come down to how good is their offensive line going to hold up, right? Things have never been the same since Brady left in 2020 for the
And
line.
Skarnikia too. I think the combination of Brady and Dante Skarnikia,
Yeah.
who I heard yesterday, said that the Patriots' offensive line can be fixed. But ever since that, they have been a mess on the
Yeah,
offensive line.
and so I think I always wonder, right? That's the difference always between a team. That and defense are probably the two biggest like easy factors that can tip a team from a good team to a great team. But they've got a lot of new offensive talent. They've got second year wide receiver in Demario Douglas, right? You've got who can be a deep threat. Maybe they can put up some points. You've got rookie receiver, what's his name, Javon
Polk,
Baker.
Javon Baker, and Jalen Polk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So they've got a few things, right? Some tools, but it's kind of got to click on multiple fronts for it to work. On the Cincinnati side, I would say it looks great on paper, which is probably why they gave them like a 9-point advantage. But I would say, the defense should be improved. They were pretty bad last season, and they've done a lot of work to try and improve it, and hopes are very high for this unit. Offense is, I think, a different story. Has Joe Burrow really fully recovered from his wrist injury? He has not really played that much, right? Serious games. The biggest thing on the offense that I worry about is they lost their offensive coach Brian Callahan in the offseason. And he was a good, solid um, offensive coach. Then there is all this drama going on with Jamar Chase not showing up to practice all training camp. He just showed up in the last 1 or 2 games, and Joe Mixon is gone. You've got like a lot of chaos in the offense. Is kind of how I
Mhm.
see it, right? No clear leader. They're trying to gel as a unit. So I think if I were to place my bets, I would say I want to hedge and say Cincinnati will likely win, but it'll be a closer game. I think Cincinnati defense, and this is a little bit of a hope, not a plan. The level of investment they've made, I think the defense will put Pats away, and Pats are still kind of, they'll show their potential, but they're young. 24-20.
24-20. Okay, I think you're giving the Patriots offense a little more credit there, 20 points, because I one of the things that even last year they struggled was the moving the ball because their offensive line was a mess. Um, I think it'll be low. It'll be low, more low. I mean, I think Cincinnati is going to cover. I think they'll cover the spread. In my mind, but we'll see. But let me go to mine, which is the Rams
Yep.
and Lions, which is a very interesting early season matchup. It's the Jared Goff, was in LA playing against his old team right now, and he definitely wants to prove them wrong. He did a great job last year. Um, the Lions are coming off the NFC Championship thing. I mean, Dan Campbell has really put the team. They believe in themselves. They have uh, everything. Amon St. Brown, they signed him to a long time contract. They signed even Jared Goff. They have Jameer Gibbs. They got all the pieces on offense and defense. But one thing during my NFC West preview, I did talk about Rams being a sleeper team because they got Cooper Cup will be healthy.
Mm.
And I mean, this is a big, I mean, Matthew Stafford, I think they have some good pieces on defense they've added. Um, I think they have done very good even in the draft. So this is going to be a shootout in my mind, and it's 3.5 is what they're calling it right now, and it's
Mm.
inside the dome. And I think there'll be a lot of points there. I think it's going to be a 38. I think the Lions will cover. It'll be a 38 to like 31, 38 to 34 kind of a game. But I do definitely see the Lions covering that matchup against the Rams this year.
Yeah.
So,
I I just have to put a plug in for my daughter Samiksha. So she was asking me, should she put Mahomes in week 1 on her fantasy or Jared Goff? And I said, I think you should put Goff. He's going to put up a lot of points for all the
right.
reasons that you just said, and I think that kind of ties off with the shootout comment that you made too. So I think he's gonna. I like Goff. I think
Yeah.
he's done well. I think they'll Lions have a good season ahead of them.
Yeah, I think the Mahomes has become. I mean, the fantasy wise, I'm not big into fantasy, but uh, Mahomes is becoming like a Brady when it comes to fantasy. That he doesn't put up big numbers; he just makes the plays what he
Yeah.
wants. I was just looking at some numbers. I think I probably even rattled it off when I did the NFC South preview, where Baker Mayfield actually had more touchdowns
Mm.
than Mahomes. So that tells you, fantasy wise,
Yeah.
Mahomes may not. I mean, Mahomes still throws for 4 touchdowns in a
Steady.
game,
Yeah.
but they've got an excellent offensive line, a good running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They picked up another running back I just saw the other day, and he seems like another truck. So Kansas City has figured it out. Good offensive line, good running game, and then Mahomes making the plays. Let's get to the final. This is goes to your team.
Yeah.
Um, Denver playing
Yep.
the old AFC West rival Seattle.
That's right. That's right. Well, we already talked a little bit about it at the front, so I'll try to make this quick, right? It's all young guns in Denver. Sean Payton. The thing is, I think you made the same similar comment on Green Bay. They're a hungry bunch, and I think they've got at least based on preseason vibes, they've got a good looking offense that's clicking. Bo Nixon kind of proved his mettle. Zach Wilson tried to show, but I think at the end of the day, Sean. In my view, did the right thing by giving the rookie a chance, and it'll be really interesting. I really look forward to watching Bo, at the QB location. Their problem may be their defense, and we talked a little bit about this because of the whole salary cap thing and contracts with Russell. They didn't really make any big moves, and I think that's going to be their soft spot. Seattle, it'll be interesting. This is the post Pete Carroll era that felt like it was forever and ever and ever, right? And it's officially beginning with Mike McDonald. And what's very interesting about Mike McDonald, of course, is he's bringing a very, very powerful defensive mindset from Baltimore. And I think they will become more of a defensive team to reckon with because their offense is kind of still not the greatest and flashiest. I mean, will Geno Smith do better with a wide receiver crew with the likes of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett? I don't know. Maybe a good time to test all of that out because, like, from a matchup standpoint, Denver defense is probably not going to be that great. So if Geno wants to build some confidence, now is the time to do it because he's not going to get a lot of chances later in the season. It's an interesting match, I think, of a hopeful and full of promise offense for Denver and a defense from Seattle. So I think Denver might take some time to gel, all young guys, right? I would give this one to Seattle. And Denver might even make a mistake or two if Seattle's defensive unit pulls it off. So I'm going to go against my pet team, but I'll say it'll be a lot closer than what the line says. I would say 17-14 in Seattle's favor.
So, which means that Seattle is not going to cover it because it's a 5.5.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay, no, that's a good pick. I think it depends because Geno Smith was really good 2 years ago. Last year he was kind of. I mean, I think they won the last, I think, 3 out of 4 or something.
They finished
started
season
off,
okay.
Yeah, they did. I think they're. But again, I we'll see what kind of team shows up because they have a new coach too. They have a new coach. They have a new offensive coach as well. I did a big Seattle Seahawks with a Seattle Seahawks fan. He was really excited about his season.
Yeah, what were they saying about Seahawks?
Well, I think he feels they're in a good spot. They're in a good spot, So he feels that he thinks like they're going to make the playoffs this year. So
okay,
yeah. And as far as the last but not the least, you have the Super Bowl. I would say finalist, San Francisco 49ers again, versus the Jets. And Jets traveling all the way to the Bay Area. It is Rodgers' hometown, and that's where he was from. Played ball there. I thought about this for a long time because the Jets are coming off. We don't know what the Jets. I mean, the Jets finished. They won 7 games last year, and they have a lot of expectations for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets this year. They're even thinking, from what I'm hearing on New York stations, they're even thinking that they'll win the division. But it depends on two things. One, Aaron Rodgers' health. Two, their offensive line. Just we always talk about. Every football game comes down to that. The 49ers themselves, they did sign Brandon Ayuk. There was a lot of trade talks for him. Brock Purdy, let's see what he will do. He's not paid that much. He only gets paid $900,000. So he's still earning his...
Haven't they upped his paycheck?
No, he has not. Yeah, he still doesn't get paid that much. So the 49ers have, I mean, they still have the key pieces. They still have Kittle. They still have McCaffrey. Their defense is all right, not earth-shattering like it used to be before. The Jets' defense is really good. So I can definitely see the Jets. I think 49ers have a 3.5. They're a 3.5 favorite, I think. But I can see the Jets go into San Francisco. Aaron Rodgers is going to play pretty well. And again, that's the place that he has played because when he used to play for Green Bay, he has traveled many times to San Francisco. I think he's at home. I don't think there'll be a letdown for the Jets. I'm actually calling the Jets to go into San Francisco and beat them by 3 points.
Wow,
So
wow, that's a
uh,
that's a bold call. But
it's a bold
given
call, yeah. But
can resonate with the fact that maybe this is Aaron Rodgers' like second coming of sorts, and maybe he's going to start the season with a bang. And I didn't fully appreciate how much they have built up in their defense, like you were saying, the Jets, that is. And yeah, if those two things click, then 49ers have a problem.
yeah, and I was debating long and hard, and I think I may be jinxing my two of my Jets faithful friends at work, and they may not like my pick because they think that I'm jinxing them because I'm a Patriots fan. No, I actually believe the Jets are one of the better teams in the AFC. Can they contend with the Chiefs? Not sure. It all remains. They have a very tough schedule ahead of them, starting with 49ers. If they can beat the 49ers, I really think that the Jets will have a great season.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that will make a statement. Yeah, you're right.
that'll make a statement for sure. So, so that's a good. I mean, I know we did longer than our when we do traditionally, but I think there was a lot of things to cover because week one we did cover about both our teams. We did cover a little bit about the NFL in general. So, I think those 6 games we're going to be watching it comes. I would say Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday, Sunday, we'll be watching glued. At least the 2 games that we picked, Thursday and Friday, they are the only game in town. So everybody will be watching those 2 games. And it's going to be interesting how this season turns out for all the teams. And if any team, I did want to have you one question I wanted to ask you about. Do you think, and I asked the same thing with my NFC friends, what teams do you think can seriously contend in both AFC and NFC against the Kansas City Chiefs this year?
Hmm. That's a good question. I went and tried to look at everything that teams have done over the off season, and honestly, I couldn't find teams that would come give a huge fight. I came back to a very usual list of suspects. I still come back to Ravens. I talked about it earlier. I still think they are the biggest threat to Kansas City, and on the NFC side, I think it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more open. I kind of initially thought maybe 49ers would be the one, but I see them kind of sliding, and I'm kind of pretty much open book on the NFC side. I'm not sure I have an obvious favorite that I can pick. I know it's a bit of a non-answer, but I think that's kind of in my view at least, the state of the NFC. There is a lot of settling that will need to happen.
Hmm. Yeah, I was thinking if Burrow and the Bengals, if Lamar, the Ravens and Henry, and maybe Aaron Rodgers and Jets, those are the 3 teams in the AFC. I mean, I wouldn't put past Josh Allen too with the Buffalo because they still have to rethink. They picked up a wide receiver, but not sure about I mean, I still trust Josh Allen, but we'll see if the Bills will be a threat to Kansas City. They had their shot. None of these teams took advantage of that. Again, the Chiefs they missed out on that. In fact, the Chiefs went twice on the road last year against the Bills, against the Ravens, and won both of them. So, um, I mean, if the Chiefs get the home field, game over. I think.
Yeah. But hey,
So
listen, the flip side of this is since we are having a hard time finding contenders, you never know. Somebody comes out of the woodworks. It'll make for a very exciting season to see who's going to step up and be a contender. So it makes that gives us something to look forward to, I suppose.
yeah, yeah. So I'm. Let's see what happens, right? Let's see what happens, and we'll wait for week number 2 after if our picks came to fruition. So again, thank you, Satish, and
Thanks,
this was
Sridhar.
good. This is a good fun. Let me just make sure that I hit the stop the record button, and then give me 1 second. Have a good day.
All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening. Primo will be back soon.